1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So who are you synchroning on that?
Is Whitney Houston on repeat here? Alright.
Yeah, it is. I have a list, but it's
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You mean like wait? I've mentioned it. Yeah, I mean, it's the same. It's just, yeah, like literally 2 because everyone here
Really get I'm sure like other than cheese, there's gonna be
everyone here is so then we'll have like pyramid rows.
I wouldn't want to eat like take a bite out of it. Like on pizza, it's fine. On steak, it's fine.
Alright, so we're gonna get started in 1 second. I just want to check that everyone's signed in on the sheet over here. This way we can make sure that if your step 1 professors give you points back. Most do, I think just Jason. Points back for some assignments you might not have done too well in. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. So welcome to Posters and Pizza. My name is Isaac Quelly. For tonight we're going to talk a little bit about Dragon's Teach and BTSO because we're co-sponsoring this event. I'm going to talk about who I am and what makes me qualified to be here talking about posters. We're going to play a quick game, kind of get us thinking in the mind frame about what are posters and why are they important, what can we do with them. Then we're going to talk about actually making your posters. And then we're going to talk about, we're going to do some desk critics where we look at posters and talk about what we like, what we don't like. So Rich is going to talk very briefly about Dragon's Teach.
Thank you. Hi everyone, thanks for coming. This is something we like to do as an event yearly. Well, I was going to say yearly. It's on a term-by-term basis as we have new Step 1 and Step 2 students coming in through each time. We like to provide the opportunity to sort of go through, evaluate our work, with how we're going to present this final, and then things we could do as we're presenting it, skills, and just good things to know, not only that are good for what we're doing in our classes, but also for the overall skills that you probably would benefit from overall as a college student to have carried forward in your career, whatever that might be. And something that's really interesting that is highlighted in this video to some degree, or is this a video, Isaac?
Yeah. Would you like me to play it? Do you want? I always like the video.
I'll play the video. You guys see young Rich, which is very odd.
Or do you want to play it later?
No, we can do it.
Okay.
So something it seems to be a general theme that I always like to talk about across all of the students who are in the earlier courses of Dragon's Teach, and even some, regardless if you are not in one of the earlier courses, the notion, the overall thing that I've been able to get a sense of with Dragon's Teach is that regardless of your investment with, oh, I want to be a teacher, I definitely want to be a high school teacher, or I just kind of like what we're doing in these classes, or I want a resume booster. We're all here for a very, very wide and diverse range of reasons. And regardless of that, Dragon's Teach has consistently, especially with the peer mentors sort of helping out and doing these events like this, help hone those skills that are transferable across all sort of STEM studies or fields. So Isaac would like me to play this video.
It should be able to just.
Now I'm tech literate, so. See?
I touched the computer, nothing.
It's on this side. You have to like move it over.
It's okay, you didn't know that.
Alright. Oops, sorry.
It's hitting me.
I'm sorry.
Teaching is not a job. Teachers may get free coffee, lunch breaks, and benefits, but that doesn't make teaching a job. Teaching is a state of mind, a completely different way of thinking. A teacher is someone who seeks knowledge so they can pass it on to others, and knows a topic well enough to explain it to a 5-year-old or a 55-year-old. They make discoveries and seek to inspire those around them. Teachers are engineers, doctors, researchers. There are those proud few who choose to get up every morning and support young minds as they explore trigonometry and chemistry. But these people were teachers well before they ever stepped foot in the classroom. Philadelphia has one of the largest public school districts in the country, full of students excited to put down their textbooks and do some hands-on learning, whether that means developing sustainable energy alternatives or just mixing up something slimy. You see, the future is uncertain, and our world more than ever needs young minds thinking about the problems that will impact current and future generations. You may never end up working in a classroom, and you may not solve tomorrow's problems, but you just might influence the person who will.
Gives me every time.
Yeah. Should be good. I don't know what that is, but.
What is your view of history?
I don't know. Yeah, there you go.
So, hopefully if you haven't seen that little promo video, it's sort of give you a more objective and overall sense of what we do if you're not too far along in the program. We do want to highlight, over our years of being a program overall, being Dragon's Teach involved with College of Arts and Sciences, School of Ed, and other colleges throughout Drexel, we eventually were able to have, in the School of Ed, develop the middle years program. So if you fall into these categories, we do have a program that is available for you if you are not a STEM major. However, if you are one of the STEM majors, we're going to be falling into Dragon's Teach. We have some advisors from both programs coming into courses this week, so if this is something of interest to hold a discussion with, if you're not one of those STEM people, the middle years advisor Allison is going to be coming out to classes as well, so please talk to those guys. And then overall, it just sort of giving you a sense of the people behind Dragon's Teach and all who are sort of contributing to make this machine work. If you didn't know, if you're in the Step 1 or Step 2 courses, we have a range of peer, we'll call them senior peer mentors and junior peer mentors. Also could have been just peer mentors or peer mentors in training. We're trying to build capacity for our group. We have a large amount of people here who have been very, very helpful throughout the term to get not only events like this going, but just sustaining the operations of what peer mentors do to help the Dragon's Teach program. If you are currently in Step 2 at the moment, if you complete that course with the B or higher, we are consistently looking for new peer mentors to enter into the group. If you were really interested in the type of work that any of your peer mentors or peer mentors in training were doing in the classes, that is something that is available to you after. All these people are amazing and brilliant representatives of our program and the different types of career fields and people that we retain in our program. So please feel free to talk to any of us about future next steps in the program, or if you're starting to feel like this isn't necessarily something for you, or you're losing your sight on, maybe like, why am I here? What are some things should I expect down the line? We have a whole bunch of people who are in Dragon's Teach for a wide variety of reasons and could really help you sort of hone in on, the relevance and significance of this program. And it's, I can only speak for myself, but I've been helped tremendously in a multitude of reasons beyond just academics from the things that were happening in this program. So, yeah, that's my bit.
Alright, I just want to hand it off to Brianna Wong, who's the DTSO president. Talk just a little bit about DTSO.
Hi everyone, thank you for coming out. So DTSO stands for Dragons Teach Student Organization. That's us. We're crazy, but you love us. So basically this organization is based off of Dragons Teach's like purpose, and we hope to inspire students and spread the importance of STEM education and just engaging the new generation of students that are going to be our future. And we also, as an organization, we will help to build professional networks and on things on that aspect. This is our e-board currently. We have Maria here, who is our event coordinator. Rich is here in the back as our district relations chair. Yeah. Please follow us on social media at dtso.drexel, all of them, for any events that we have upcoming. If you want to become a member, you can apply at that link below, tinyurl.com/apply-dtso. Events that we had in the past, we just did one of our movie series event, Hidden Figures. So we had Dr. Valerie Klein speak at it, we watched the movie, had some snacks, it was a good time. And we have another one coming up, Love Simon, in April for LGBT awareness and things like that. A fundraiser coming up next week, March 15th, that just got confirmed. And another fundraiser, Family Fuse. So if you have a bunch of friends who want to come out, have March 14th? Okay, that got confirmed. Thank you, our event coordinator.
You know the struggle here.
But those two are coming up in next, is it March? Yeah, next week. So if you have some friends who want to come out, hang out before finals week, de-stress, please do. It's fun. So I'm gonna pass it off to our host, Isaac Quelly. Sorry.
I was telling someone that I forget my own name half the time because I go by my middle name Isaac, so I forget who I tell Peter, who I tell Isaac. Anyway, so just a brief 12 bullet points about me. I'm studying architectural and civil engineering here at Drexel, and I'll be minoring. I am minoring in STEM education. And my teaching certificate will be in secondary physics, so high school physics. I was the previous VP of DTSO, and as the community outreach chair. I'm currently a senior peer mentor, and I was the recipient of the 2016 and 17 You Teach student poster competition. The first time on my own, and the second time with the team with the other peer mentors. And we'll talk a little bit about that. So before I want us to get us like feeling posters, like I want you to eat, sleep, and dream posters. Rich is gonna help me pass out a little game sheet where you can write down the answers to the questions. It's gonna go kind of quick. That's the idea. We can do teams of 3, but I just don't want it to get too noisy because we're in a smaller room. So yeah, let's do teams of 3. So each table, Joan, right? No, Amber.
There you go.
Amber, why don't you join this back table? Joan. Okay, awesome. Sorry, names. So I'm gonna show a poster. You're gonna answer for 10 seconds. Answer as many questions as you can from the next slide. And there's total of 5. And I've got soda can openers for the winning team.
Wow.
Everybody. Alright, so this is gonna go pretty quickly. But I'll give everyone like 10 seconds to get ready. There'll be a countdown, and it'll just go automatically.
Can everybody see the screen?
Do you have a? Are you
Speak
already
now for everyone to
screen
hear.
like you?
Oh my
I don't feel like getting
god.
up.
Can you repeat the instructions?
Yeah. So I'm gonna. So we had a question up front to repeat the question instructions. I'm gonna show it for 10 seconds. It's gonna go to the questions for 20 seconds. Yeah, it's gonna go automatically. I don't touch it once it starts. Alright, so we're gonna get started. Remember, questions on the next. The questions are going to be very similar, so you'll kind of learn the pattern.
Oh my god.
The year's okay for the timing. The last one is extra hard, so I actually added some time to it. This one I think is 15 seconds. Come on, tell them. Don't look at me. Alrighty, so please make sure that at least one of your partner's names are on the poster. I'm sorry, on the sheet. You can send them towards Rich. He's gonna grade them, and the most correct answer is gonna win the prize. So the moral of the story here, you know, if your lesson, or in this case, the game doesn't go according to plan, improvise, adapt, and overcome. What are our immediate impressions about what we just did?
Stressful.
It was stressful. Fun. It was fun. It went really quickly, didn't it? Yeah. So a lot of times when we're talking about posters, you know, the idea is that they're going to immediately grab our attention and to convey something right off the bat. So whether it's an academic poster or maybe a flyer or a sales ad, you know, there's immediate information you want to get across right off the bat. And then the more time that you look at the poster, there's other details that kind of come to the surface. And that all depends on what kind of setting your poster is in. If it's like in an academic setting, you know, obviously you have longer to look at it. But if it's a band poster, you know, you get 10 seconds. And then before they see some other advertisement or have to move on with their day. So I want to transition to talk a little bit about how do you make your poster. It's kind of the story that you want to tell, as I just started talking about. Think about who your target audience is. What are they going to come to the session knowing? What do you want? How are you going to grab their attention? What makes it special for them? What might they be interested in? And what do you want them to take away with them when they leave, or to go to someone else's poster? What's the one or two big facets of information that you want to give to them? Then think about the content. It kind of connects to the audience, but what are the big ideas that I want to show my audience? What work have I done? What have I accomplished that's worth sharing? It's very key, your passion here. What gets you excited about your work that might get other people excited about their work? Again, what you've learned, what do you still have to learn next? Where's your trajectory going to go? That's always a big one. Like, what are future plans? And what evidence do you have to show your work? And then also your rubric and judging, because these can be competitions. So how is someone going to know that you know what you're talking about? A lot of times, like in step one, this is going to be in the form of like a rubric from your instructor, Merlin or Jason. But not always. Some competitions have it, some don't. Some will just say, come with a poster if you're going to a conference. There won't necessarily be a rubric. So how does this apply to step one? Any ideas about any? Actually, we're probably doing high groups. What about who's our target audience for step one posters? Yeah.
Our classmates and the teacher.
And then there's one more I can think of. Can anyone help her out?
The TAs.
I'm sorry, I missed that.
TAs.
The TAs, so peer mentors, yeah. Perfect. Exactly. What about the target content?
Teaching experiences.
Teaching experiences. What else? So the 5 E's, that's a big one for us if you look at the rubric. We want to see that you absorb that. Evidence of your classroom management techniques. Some learning theories, which in step 1 present themselves as in articles that we've read. And your unique experiences. Everyone kind of does the field experiences, but what made yours stand out? So you kind of want to start off with an outline. It doesn't have to look like this. It could be a word outline. It could be anything that works for you. But the point is that you want to think about those 3 things, put them all together, start churning around in your head, and come out with a general shape of your poster. And then content. I recommend writing as much as you possibly can, because it's, at least for me, it's way easier than take stuff out. Because I know what the story is, even if it's not on the page. So when it comes to presenting, I'm more prepared. You curate that info to what tells the story that you want to tell. What should you write on the page? What should be words versus what should be shown? How can you vary it so it's interesting? Less is more when it comes to text in posters. Although it depends on the setting, which I'll talk about in a minute. You want to really shape your poster, you want to kind of make it like, it can be artsy, but you want to make it flow and logically connected, moving through the page. So that way you're not intro, conclusion, all over the place and just scrambled. And obviously have other people review it. Just 20 minutes before we started, Rich told me I spelled Drexel wrong. So even though I've been doing this for 5 years, having someone else look at your work is always helpful. And cite your sources, because it not only gives them a thank you for doing the work that you're borrowing, but it gives you credit because you've done your research also. You're not just making up stuff on the fly. It shows that you respect other people that do work too. So this is my poster from my first trip to Austin. Dragons teach. I'll give you the elevator speech. Dragons Teach is different from other You Teach programs because we only have 2 field experiences, whereas most other colleges have 3. So as a kind of informal way to supplement that, we started doing outreach events, like at the Franklin Institute, a science festival, Breakthrough Collaborative on the weekends. And so I noticed that these skills are valuable for Dragons Teach students. And so kind of just, I put together a poster about that. Obviously, so I'm going to go through element by element then. So I started with name and title, obviously. I talked about the background, why should someone care about what I have here. Starting point, more details, like, from day one we were doing this. My motivations, like, why does it matter? Thinking deeper, kind of like starting to analyze different parts and present them to the reader. Some more applications and some relevance. What does it look like in real life? And then thinking forward, like, what are my plans for the future? What could this become? And then along the way, there'll be some table of facts and figures. I could have just written these out in paragraphs, but varying the way I'm presenting the information is important in a poster, so that way it's not just, because you could pick up the book and it would accomplish the same thing, or a written paper. What you have this, large space to put visuals. Why is it, you should use that to your advantage. Especially images, like I have down here at the bottom. I wanted to make those a focus, students learning. This is one of my absolute favorite pictures. I'll use this on anything now. But it's of a young student playing with a tuning fork and a glass of water, where she's hitting with it, dunking it in the water, and it splashes up and gets her right in the face. And this student here is looking at, it's like a film canister with a little Alka-Seltzer and water. Turn it upside down and it pops up. So he's waiting for it to pop. And some other ways of, like infographics or even like pictures, ways of further showing information that aren't tables, that aren't text. For this one, it's basically the different partners, different groups that we did these events at. So it's a way of showing and talking about it without actually using words to talk about it. I also brought in some testimonials of what other people had to say about this. Captions, citations, etc. down here at the bottom. And of course I stuck with the Drexel branding. The green shapes are, in my opinion, the things that set my poster apart from the other posters. Just the way I had the infographics, I don't remember seeing a whole lot in other posters. Testimonials, I don't remember seeing anyone else with testimonials. And I put a lot of focus on, when I talked about my poster, what could we do with this? What could other schools, other programs benefit from? How could other sites use this to their advantage? And of course, your citations and captions. So that way someone who doesn't know your work can go, okay, I know what's happening in this photo, or I know where they got this piece of research from. I kind of talked about this as I went along, but some photos have captions. That's an important thing. If you have the date and the photographer put it, try to find alternate ways to convey your information. Not paragraph text, but tables, figures, graphs, even bullet points breaks it up from just a block of text. Get expert feedback. Have other people look at it to help you along on your way too. Like I said, break up the text where you can, both in spacing wise, but also like with headers. It's hard to see in the back, but use their different colors. So the larger it is, the darker it is, the more important it is. But then use the other text in the bold and the italics to kind of set it apart. And this is from 2016. And this was our poster from 2017. I won't talk about this as much, but we wanted to focus on the peer mentoring program and what we felt other schools had to benefit because of it. So a lot of this you're going to be familiar with. The only thing I want to highlight here, actually let me just skip ahead, is the number of pictures, because that was important for us because we do a lot of events, we do a lot of community building, so we wanted to show that happening. And then the infographic in the center. We couldn't find anything that really fit what we wanted the story to tell, which is, you start off as a regular Dragons Teach student, but as you're going through the program, you become a peer mentor, and it's almost a link between aspiring teachers or student teachers and Dragons Teach students that not very many schools have. But we wanted to show this path, and we conveniently had this picture of us underneath a ceiling mirror, so it works well. But if there's not something that allows you to tell your story, get creative and make something that tells your story. For step one, I wouldn't go into this much. This took a while to, and even then there's stuff about it I would change, like it doesn't quite line up here. Anyway, this is from 17. We had there was 5 of us total. One student wasn't able to come to the conference with us. Judzi and Shayna, who are both student teaching right now, and myself and Rich. Some last other tips and tricks that didn't fit in other places. Just a gentle reminder, cite your sources. They're not in step 1, but I've seen other posters at like engineering events that don't always cite everything the way I would have. Bring your artifacts and your evidence. So you'll notice on our table, we had copies of the proposal to do the peer mentor program. We had my laptop with extra pictures going that weren't on the poster. So we had those artifacts, that evidence of learning. In your case, it would be your exit tickets, note cards, worksheets, but bring that. I had business cards. I don't know if it made much of a difference, but it just, sitting on the table, it helps for networking. Dress to impress, but impress yourself. I don't like dress codes, but I also like dressing up, if that makes sense. I think what it comes down to is, feeling good about yourself. I feel good in a vest and a bow tie, but, you do you, so long as it fits the setting, just, you want to feel good about yourself and your work. Bring a printed copy of your poster. This isn't going to apply to step 1, but when we went to Austin, in addition to having the big roll-up one and the tube, we had it paneled out just in case something happened to the big one and the tube. Things go missing on planes all the time. So it helps to be prepared. And again, have as many people read it as possible, so you don't misspell Drexel. And Microsoft Word is newer. If you copy text from PowerPoint into Word, you can go to the Review tab, and it will read it out to you. I've caught a lot of my own not misspelled words, but like I chose the wrong word. It didn't quite make sense. So I'd recommend that. You can even just listen to it in the background to make sure what's on the page is what you intended to say. In the presentation, you don't want to read from your poster. If you're noticing, what I'm trying to do is I'm really trying not to read the slides, because there's a lot more in my head than is actually on the page. And I can kind of bob and weave with your questions and your comments. So I can tell a story that's interesting to you that may not be the literal words of the paper. So let's say you were vice president of programming for another UTeach site, and you asked about, well, how much is this peer mentor program going to cost? That wasn't on my poster, but they asked a question about it, so I tell them, they asked me a follow-up question, and so our conversation kind of bobbed and weaved in a different way. And the conversations end up resembling like you're talking to a revolving door. You're going to have a kind of start and a finish, but also people are going to walk up mid-story, and you kind of want to just be aware that you're not always starting from square one every time. This might be where you want to take notes. This will be available on the peer mentoring hub that should be on everyone's Blackboard. And if not, I'll write down my email on here in a little while. You can reach out to me, I'm happy to share it with you. What's that smile for?
We have a pretty significant
this activity we have here.
What?
We have 3 groups that are tied.
Ah. Alright,
If
I'll
you're
figure,
not, let me know.
I'll figure out a
The
tiebreaker.
data do not lie.
Alright,
That's the correct grammar.
spoiler alert, I have like enough prizes for everyone to have one, so. Anyway, but we'll figure out some sort of tiebreaker. We'll figure out some sort of tiebreaker. So if you, my tool of choice to do posters is actually PowerPoint. I've heard it's not the best, but I know how to do it well for me. There's a lot of other programs like I think it's Adobe InDesign. It's a big one. Yeah, no. If everyone, there's lots of pizza. Just please come get some. Unless I have to take home later, because I do not eat more pizza. And then, I'm sorry. And there's also there's soda here, but there's the pantry right around the corner if you gotta have water. There's a tap, and I think there's a water cooler. I don't know, but it's right around the corner. So if you're going to set up your file, the very first thing you should do in PowerPoint is you want to change the size of your slide. If you don't do this right off the bat, you start putting text on there, and then you remember and have to change it later. Everything gets distorted, it's not quite lined up with itself anymore. So all you have to do this is go into Design. You'll see the slide size where you pick either if it's widescreen or normal. But on the bottom of that, it's just custom, and you'll get this custom menu. You just change the 2 size inches. Yeah.
Can you do this on Google Slides too?
Yes.
Yes. I don't because I like PowerPoint itself. Because now PowerPoint has like snapping, like it'll give you lines to like make it very easy to line things up.
You can do that on Google Slides.
Fair enough. And normally I advocate for Google products, but in this case, I'll stick with PowerPoint.
PowerPoint's not as like easily accessible to people with Macs though, so it's
OneDrive.
that too.
Oh, yeah, well, yeah, it does come with your tuition now. Anyway, so you just want to change it to 48 inches by 36 inches, because that's going to be the standard poster size for Dragon's Teach, the big fold-out boards that I saw. I think Adam had one.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, just hold it up so everyone can know what it's about. But so then that'll let us, fold open. So that'll let you save it as a PDF so we can print it out for you. And then once you hit OK, you'll get a pop-up menu. Literally, you can pick any option because you're doing this first. So you can ignore that. Just click and ignore. So then when you're ready to, you've done the work, you've saved it you're ready to save it as a PDF. Keep your PowerPoint file and save it often. So that way you can make changes later. But when you're ready to save it as a PDF to send to us, you can just go to Save As, and then instead of in the drop down, choosing PDF, and then sending the PDF to one of us. And I can do an actual walkthrough of this, because I think we're ahead of schedule, because I'm talking kind of fast. But so now we have some time for some desk crits. It's an opportunity for us to see what other people have done, to kind of, talk about what we like, what we don't like, what we might do differently. So obviously we've seen the first one already. So take 20 seconds while I get a piece of pizza for myself. Think about what you like, what you don't like.
That caught my attention. I can't tell like where the section starts. Oh yeah.
Oh,
Alrighty, let's come back together.
Yeah.
Sorry, just took a wrong time, bad time. So what do we like about this poster? Let's start off with positives. Hollis. It's colorful. What else? Oh, come on, there's plenty of good things about it.
I like the top. The iron paradox really caught my eye.
I'm sorry, can you say that a little louder?
I like the top of the poster. Especially the iron paradox. Like, ooh, I want to know about that.
What other things do we like about it? Because I can think of a lot. Yeah.
There's a lot of graphs and things.
There are a lot of visuals, so it's not just text.
It's presented in different ways, so there's like some bullet points, there's tables, there's graphs. There's just like really short paragraphs explaining things. So wide variety of explanations.
I want to get back to something what Mahalo said. So it's colorful. What does the color allow the author to do?
It breaks it up as like a topic.
Perfect. The author uses colors to split up the poster. So I realize that there is some overlap, but I imagine, and I'm not a biochemist, but I imagine that the whole topic in red generally follows the same theme, of transferring her, and then the green follows a different theme. So while it could have been used a little bit more effectively, I think, they're off to a great start there. What are things we don't care for that we might do differently? Yeah.
Okay, so the purpose is all the way in the corner. It should be like front and center. Like, I'm looking at all this information, it looks cool, but like, what's the point? That's what I thought.
The colors and like the three categories are there to organize it, but once you get below like that bottom half, everything is just kind of a mess. In the sense that like the visuals and the text blend together and it's hard to distinguish. And like from here, it literally is impossible for me to read those things. So like the balance between text and visuals is kind of off.
I imagine once it would be printed, it's less blurry because even when I'm standing right here, the edges are kind of fuzzy. That's the slide. That's not the poster. But I think agreed. It does get kind of really small at the bottom. You kind of have to really go far to. Yeah.
I'm not sure what the picture at the top right is contributing to the poster. For me personally, it seems to be turning a little bit from the focus. I don't know what's in the picture. Alexa caption.
Right. Alexa caption. I suspect it's the research lab that did this. So maybe the school, maybe Duke requires that they have a picture. I don't know the specific rules of the college. So if you're going to use Drexel branding, there's a whole 3 or 4 page document on how to do it the way Drexel wants you to do it. If you look at my poster, the blue is a shade or 2 lighter because it looks bad. It looks black when it's printed. At least when we do it. Yes, Andrew.
Really important stuff like the conclusions are all the way at the bottom right and like really small. So at first I wasn't even sure if this like had conclusions to it. I just thought it could have been like a presentation on like something that we already knew. If that makes sense.
Any other thoughts? What do we think the target audience is?
Those who know background in the content.
So I imagine that. I'm sorry.
I would just say other biochemists probably could read this and understand it.
So I'd agree. And so I suspect that their purpose, they're talking about their research. So they have all these, data things to talk about, or they're trying to present a whole topic rather than just, something. So perhaps the idea was to present as much as they could in a small space. I don't know. I literally just typed in academic poster on Google. What about this poster? What do we like? What do we not like? Yeah, so I did this on purpose because part of Dragons Teach is self-reflection. I mean, of course, I think it's an awesome poster. I mean, I made it, but part of it is what would we do differently? How do we grow? I'm thinking about those, asking ourselves those kind of questions. Did I see your hand up, Xander?
So what I like about it is how you can tell what the purpose of the poster is and where everything is just by looking at it. Unlike the first poster, I feel like a lot of the content is, since this is a bit more straightforward than explaining a scientific process, there's also a somewhat more minimal amount of content, but what is there is easily organized and meaningful.
Thanks.
And of course, it's easy to see the different subject headings and everything, and yeah, it's just a good design.
Thanks. We're dating, by the way. That's why. Sorry, that's not really relevant, other than he's cute. So moving forward, what other things?
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
What's the top right picture?
So that's Jedzia. She was in the picture from Austin.
Okay.
This is at the Philadelphia, the Franklin Institute. This was a Halloween event. We're literally just at the end, we had a lot of dry ice, and we threw it in there.
Oh.
The picture itself was a bit of it's kind of showy. It was a cool picture, but it does lend itself to the applications of the 5U model. So we're using it at the Franklin Institute to help teach. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I like how your poster has it has columns, but it doesn't just flow into other places. Like the first one, there were pictures that kind of stood in between two sections, and you didn't really know where it went. So you can tell certain boxes don't extend their welcome, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, what I still do, but what I did was, I just had a crap ton of shapes. So if you just draw a rectangle, you can size it on the top, and you make the edge really, really thin. You can then make sure everything lines up. And so I divided it into columns before I started. What do we not like? What might we do differently? Because anything is on the table, because I'm open to feedback. Yeah.
I think the branding at the bottom, although it's nice, I don't think it's really needed. But that's an outside opinion, because it's already in the middle. I see it at the very top, throughout all of the information you're presenting, it says Dragons Teach. So I don't know if having it at the bottom is necessary, but personal opinion.
I would, if I did this again today, I would make it a lot smaller, because you'll notice that the second one was a lot smaller. This one though, yeah. So this was a shape because I couldn't make it fit. I literally just put this in the fillet. What else? It's okay. You can be harsh. I don't mind.
We're trying to find the problems. We don't see them. So you presented this as this is a good model.
Well, yeah, but also I tried.
How about you point out flaws you see in it?
I mean, I have a couple, but I still have hand first.
The organization is really easy to follow and well organized, but I guess for the purposes of break any barriers, in terms of graphic design, or visuals or anything, it's just the information on there, and some infographics to break up the wording, but that's just kind of what you were alluded to.
Yeah, it's not incredibly unique. It's 3 columns. It's pretty standard. I'd agree. I'm honestly surprised no one brought up my word cloud. Every group that I've done this for before has disliked the word cloud. I don't know why, other than it's unnecessary. People think it's unnecessary.
I think it could be smaller and maybe add
Yeah.
some more other wording or something. But I don't think that's like huge.
Like, can't you like do font pairings? I feel like you have all one font, but there's like, you know, the one font style that matches the other type. You could do.
I don't think I paid a whole lot of attention to font. I might have just not even changed the default at the time. I might have used the one Drexel uses. It was 3 years ago. I can't remember. But so I agree with Nora. I could have varied the font.
Now that we're talking about font, there's a whole other side of presenting things and theory of presenting. I don't know necessarily what the school of thought is called, but font has a lot to do with the communicability and ease of understanding of a poster. There's a lot of information out there. It's a very interesting read if you're into the logistics of this type of stuff, and that's very font specifics. But it's something to be aware of, like if you're really trying to hit it home with this type of poster presentation.
There's a lot of Comic Sans gets a lot of flack, right? But what I will say though is people with dyslexia. I don't have dyslexia, but because of my ADD, I have trouble reading sometimes. People with dyslexia find Comic Sans easier to read. I mean, also it doesn't look great for presentations, but I'll just leave that there for you. So that's something to think about as a teacher. My pictures are a bit large now that I think about it. Like I wanted them to be, the events were a focus of mine because without the events we couldn't do anything else. But also the ones at the bottom are kind of large now that it's even this big. What about this poster? What do we like?
You like the
Nisha?
Nisha, yeah.
Nisha, sorry.
That's cool. I like that each category has like its own box. So like the title is like very different from everything else. Like it's orange, it's like bold text, and then like the actual problem is like right next to it in green, and then everything else that goes together is like in dark blue, but outlined in light blue, and there's like a variation in how big the text is. So like in the bottom there's a big number, so it's a big font. I like that. There's a pie chart. I like pie. I like charts. I like it in that format. Yeah, it's cool.
I agree with this one.
Thank you.
Let's talk very briefly about the boxes, because I agree I like them, and they break up the traditional like 3 columns, but like also like 3 columns going across. What are things we don't care for? I mean, because it's a great poster, but there's some things that I would do differently. Yeah.
The top right box has no context really. It's just the graphic. So just looking at the poster, maybe help a little bit to explain things if you didn't know about it.
Yeah. And then Xander.
It's hard to tell like what the conclusion. Sorry.
You had to hear the first. Go ahead.
I like the boxes, but I don't know where I'm supposed to start reading them. Like they don't really have a specific flow. Like you know there's the objectives, but you don't know exactly like to go down or left with them.
Yeah, I agree. The map of the poster isn't quite clear, or as clear as it could be. Yes, Xander, go ahead.
I was gonna say that it's kind of hard to tell what the conclusion is.
Yeah, I don't really know if there is a conclusion. I suspect that this poster is more kind of PR advertising than actual like presenting research are presenting data. I suspect that it's promoting some sort of bank or some sort of research group, or financial group. But I think this is maybe missing some context, like it would be on a web page. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just like, I wish I knew more about where the information came from, like with the graphics, like who were they asking these questions to, and like how did they get their statistics? Because
I definitely agree. It's possible that they're presenting entirely their own research, but I suspect that that's to be unlikely. So if these are stats from various other research projects or groups, those aren't specified. Adam, did you have it?
Yeah, I don't like the color discontinuity. So at the top you have like a certain yellow and a certain green, and that's not carried through throughout the poster. So like you have yellows and greens, but they're not the same yellows and greens. So I think there's too many variation of color. And also I don't like I like the yellow and the blue. I like the green and the blue. I don't like the yellow, the green, and the blue.
I think it is the same green. Not the background.
That's what I'm talking about, is the background.
But the font and
the font and the font colors for the yellow and the green are the same, but the background is just disgusting.
What about this poster? What do we like? What do we not like? What would we do differently?
I like the pictures.
What?
I was looking to try to see Easter eggs in there.
Oh yeah, no, I can see them from here. Well, because also I know where they are. Right there.
You have a hand back here anyway.
And there.
I think accomplishments should be a little bit to the left.
That's looking
Which,
fantastic.
where are we looking? I don't. Yeah, no, I agree. Adam.
I like the pictures. It kind of makes me want to read more, but not a fan of the placement of that chart.
Which one?
The one on the right.
This one?
Yeah. Just, I don't know. It's kind of an eyesore. I think it could be placed better in a way that doesn't break up the more chill nature of the poster.
I like the placement because the information it's conveying is saying how many hours of the peer mentor's time is being invested, so you could eventually get to a cost. But I agree that the coloring is a bit thick. It's a bit too heavy. So visually it throws it off. I'm sorry, yeah.
I just agree with you. Are the colors of the hexagon shapes like supposed to be like related to the orange and the blue strip bubble in the middle?
Yes.
Okay.
That was intentional. And fun fact, this blue again is Drexel blue, but modified a little bit. But these three are Drexel's complementary colors. So if you're sick of the blue and yellow, or want to add to the blue and yellow, these are the three colors that Drexel says use those. But so I'll admit to making a mistake. I think I reversed one of these reversed two of them by accident, like the coloring. But the orange should all be related to, like, the students of Dragon's Teach, whereas the blue is related to the peer mentoring part of it, like just the ideas being presented. And then the green was connected to oh wait, no, I think I have that backwards, but whatever. They are related. Because there was 4 of us working on this, we were a bit rushed, trying to coordinate, let's update this, let's change that, let's do this. So I agree that there are some things that aren't lined up as well as I could have done if we had more time. Just like 30 seconds. Like you'll see the graphic, I pointed out that little mistake here. I would have preferred to maybe do this in another software, because I did this in PowerPoint also. But like, I don't like how it doesn't arc with the same exact radius. So it kind of, it's just not quite exact. Yeah.
I like the hexagons on either side, and they're both perfectly symmetrical to one another. But it kind of breaks up like the continuity, because it goes like hexagon, circle, hexagon. So maybe if you had like either or, maybe it'd be more continuous. But I do like the symmetry on both of them.
Yeah, we could have used the hexagons in the middle too. I still like how this is a circle because it's a process, but I could have copied out the shape to use there.
Or had circles on the place of hexagons on the sides.
Speaking of these shapes, PowerPoint has a lot of like smart, all the Office software does, but there's like smart art. It allows you to make graphics that are just beyond like a normal like square or rectangle. So if you like have some pictures and you have some text and you want to kind of present it in a different way, try using smart art. Okay. So we're at about an hour. We can keep going with these. We can transition to questions. I'm flexible. Do we want to go in questions, or yeah, let's do questions. So what questions do you have about this process? What Nisha?
Yeah, okay, so in the PowerPoint, we're actually making the pieces to our posters. Like, are you gonna also show that, or is that like
when you say pieces of poster, can you give me a little bit more of what you're thinking about?
Okay, so for the PowerPoint, I'm not exactly sure how we're utilizing it to make the poster. Maybe I'm just missing a whole guess.
No, I think I did leave a little bit about that out. I remade this PowerPoint. I think I might have dropped a slide or two. But we can, if anyone else has any questions, why don't you ask, and then we'll spend some time, like what my actual process is in PowerPoint. Any other questions, or should I start with that? Awesome. Okay. Let me just. I'm gonna sit down because I've been.
So while Isaac's setting that up, I kind of want to speak to this section of, most of what we've been doing up until this point has been isolated to, like, how do you take the concepts and the ideas that you have or you're intending on putting on your poster, how are you going to sort of exude that in your presentation of the poster? Now that we're moving forward into the more, like, design-specific things, I do want to reiterate that, Isaac has had a pretty tried and true method and consistent method of being able to do his posters on PowerPoint, as as he said throughout the presentation, that's mostly how he's been doing it throughout his tenure in poster making. However, I do want to say, like, this is your poster, this is your project, and there are a multitude of ways that you can sort of use as a palette to sort of help you get whatever you feel would lend itself to be the best method to present your ideas. So with that being said, like, something that I when I do my poster, I haven't done a poster for Dragon Siege in a very, very long time, but when I was doing my own posters, I avoided the PowerPoint method explicitly. I instead opted for doing PowerPoint to organize my poster and then sort of printing out specific sections, cutting and pasting them out. There's also the method that we're going to go through here today that's a little bit more using 8.5 by 11 sheets and sort of posting them in chunks to organize. What I want to really hone in on here is that there's a multitude of ways to actually physically do your poster. I like how, by the very least, something like PowerPoint and or Publisher, I guess if you're a proficient with Publisher, I like PowerPoint because the scaling is correct. At the very least, it's an organizational tool. After that point, when it comes to printing, when it comes to physically putting your poster down, think about your options. What will work best for your visuals? What will work best for your text? What will work best for the overall message that you're trying to put out there for your poster.
Yeah, just like Rich was saying, it's about the story you want to tell. So if this method isn't the best one, you know, I wouldn't be hurt. It's whatever gets the job done.
Science
Alright,
fair
so-
style is okay. Like,
What?
science fair style is okay. Like back in elementary school, really.
Yeah, thank
On
you.
like these poster boards, that is okay.
So if you're starting off from scratch, you should go ahead and open up PowerPoint and a blank presentation. Just like I was talking about before, the very first thing you want to do is change your slide size. Let me actually, I'm going to change so I can see it. So, just like I was talking about before, so you want to go to design. You want to change your slide size and custom. So I apologize for the back, it's kind of hard to read, but the width is 48 inches and the height is 36. Go ahead and click OK. And then either of these work because you're doing the first thing. So now every time you're at 100% down here, what you see on the screen is the size of your poster. So theoretically, if you were to just like stick your laptop up on the wall, that's where it would be. So I'll get rid of these because they're pointless. And so depending on how you want to set up your poster, if you want to go the traditional trifold, you want one column on the left, two columns on the left and right, and then one big one in the middle. Or you want three even columns. But you also think about that. And then what I do to straight up just where are you? I'll use shapes to do a lot of the measuring. So I just click on the rectangle, I'll draw one. And so if I wanted, what is it? 18? I think so. So if I wanted two small columns and one big one in the middle, like where the trifold crease is, I'll change it so the height is the height of my poster, so it was 36. The width was, I was like 18? I think it's 18. Was it 12? Whatever. Oh, 18 is 3 even. That's 12. And so now the shape of the column, the size of it is. And then if I want to be able to see other stuff behind it, yeah, I'll just no fill. And so I can put it exactly where I want it. That's one column, copy paste, now another. Copy paste the third time, but I'll change it to 24 inches wide. And so now I just measured my 3 columns. And then let's say I'm ready to start adding text, I would just use text boxes. Or Word, you could use text boxes or word art. They're relatively the same now. So let's just call it something fun. My new poster. And then the font sizes are going to be ridiculous looking. Like it's going to be like 200 point font, but you know, you kind of just have to judge like the size that looks good. And then so you can use those as headings. You want to insert a text box because you want a whole paragraph of information. Then you size it so I'm sure there are good rules of thumb, I just don't know them for like text sizes on posters. So just so you can see it, I'll go with something larger. So there's a paragraph, and if I want another paragraph below it, Word is great now because you can see it'll add like snapping lines. They kind of pop up when you're in line with something else. And then let's say I wanted to You can add tables from Word and just format them. If you want to add a picture with use a shape or I use shapes for outlines, or you could add outlines right to the photos. You could pop photos in, just drag and drop, almost like you'd make a PowerPoint slide. There's really no difference, except this just gets printed. And then when you're ready to print, you'll go to File, Save As. Doesn't matter where you're saving to, as long as you know. And then here you'll change it, instead of PowerPoint file, you just want PDF. It should be fourth down. My new poster. Right, so it made the PDF, and then when it comes, you don't need to worry about this part too much, unless you really want to print it on your own, but where's mine? There it is. But you'll send us your PDF. I don't actually use this laptop very much, so I'm pretty good. That's the other. That's why. Inside my directional documents. Put it in the Peter Metro folder. There's so many SharePoints, it's not funny. There we go. Oh, actually, I don't even know if I have Adobe on here. But we'll open it anyway. All that to say is we'll open it in Adobe, and in the options you can choose to print it out, not in multiple pages per sheet, but multiple sheets per page. And basically, you'll just get panels that you just glue together in order, and it looks almost like it would on the wall. Did that help you out enough?
Yeah, because I was like, I don't understand. Is it like on each slide, like we're making a part of the?
No, thank you for that, because I forget sometimes that.
Yeah, I was like, what's going on? I was like, cool.
Oh, you can put the tiny URL in.
Mm-hmm. There's also tons of template downloads online. You don't have to go in and make this by hand. So if you, that's what that's for.
They have. There's so. Do you want to explain what this is?
Yeah, so I'll actually put this right on the Peer Mentor website, because there's a lot of junk in there. But there'll be a template that you can download your file already set up. If you want 3 even columns, there'll be one, and if you want 1 big column and 2 small ones, there'll be one there too. But the file is sized already, so you can just start making your poster.
Adam, did you want to continue with what you're saying?
No, you just don't using a downloaded.
Right, but there's
Look at your options.
Right, there's also other templates that aren't mine that are like sample posters where you start filling in text. So you can consider those. You don't have to reinvent the wheel if you don't want to.
Right. And science fair posters are okay again.
Yeah. So if you want to just open a Microsoft Word document, type some real large title text, and they're just sewer pictures. Just like I did a lot of civil engineering, so these are water mains being installed. Anyway, I don't have anything else. Any other questions before we wrap up?
Last one. Because I have all the questions. When it's printed out, will we still get those like white borders, and is that something we just cut off?
Yeah, we can. So the way it does it is there'll be a regular sheet of paper. We will add their like hatch marks. So they're just like in each corner. There's a like almost like a plus. Then you'll be able to follow, connect the two pluses together to get a clean, even cut. So then those you can put right next to each other. I don't buy your own glue sticks because I think we're actually low on glue sticks.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I would like to talk about the printing day.
Yeah,
We're ready to get into that conversation.
That is Rich's absolute favorite day of the year.
Of us who are in the peer mentor program serving as peer mentors would know fully well that Rich is not the biggest fan of printing day. In fact, it's his least favorite day of the year, the term rather. And that's because, and don't get me wrong guys, like I'm a college student too. I do all my work the last minute.